In this episode, we're going to talk about headspace, not the gap between your ears or how much volume in your stocking cap, but what headspace is. And the reason we're going to talk about that is I had talked about in a previous video about having these cases ready to go for a 308. The problem is what does it take to get these cases ready to go? It actually is quite a bit of work, but once you get the process down, it goes pretty smooth. What I'm going to show is we're going to figure out how to measure headspace, how to adjust headspace, talk about fire forming cases. It all is one big process and a long-term road to getting precision or better performing ammunition. So for starters, let's talk about cases. So I'm going to start with this. It's also back to the Hornady comparator. This is a headspace comparator. Glasses on. It's the C375 308. Fits for many other varieties. I think 30-06. Look here in my notes on the top of the box. 375 works for 6.5, 270, 30-06, and also 308. The measurement of headspace in the rifle is from the bolt face, which will butt up against this, to the partial way on the neck. Not the first part of the neck. I'll say the ogive or shoulder, I guess is the right term. The shoulder of the bullet case. These are the cases I shot the other day. They were just fired out of the gun. These are what the size of the chamber is. I would say the most accurate size of the chamber within reason. There is other ways to measure the size of the chamber, but this would probably be the most accurate. So with the micrometer set at zeros, we're going to measure this. After firing, the case measures at 1.655. I happen to have 4 of the ones from the other day. That one's 1.654, 1.655, 1.655. I'm going to write that dimension down. 1.655 after firing. When you run them through the die, you try to crunch them back. And by crunching them back, we're taking a dimension from the bolt face where it rides against the end of the bullet to where it rides midway on the shoulder. These are through a die, ready to go. They are 1.653, so 2 thousandths shorter than they are after they're fired. To me, that's a good number. What happens when you shoot this bullet? This brass expands, fills the whole chamber. After it cools down, which can be almost instantaneously, this shrinks back down. All that pressure fills that chamber, stretches the brass, making it a little bit longer, which is why we have to crunch it back down. A lot of things come into play there. The chamber of the gun, the bore, the amount of powder, the size of the bullet, how far the bullet is from the rifling. All that stuff creates a lot of pressure. There's a lot of standards. Normally, they're referred to as the SAMI specifications, the Sporting Association of Firearms. I don't know. I'd have to look it up exactly. Most of the cases have manufacturers have a book or a manual. They tell you what the SAMI specifications are for the brass. That's a starting point. It's a reference. I have the books out just to show that they're basically the same. But in order to do this correctly, we should probably start with some fresh brass. I told my son I wasn't going to load his for him, but for the sake of the video, we're going to begin. Brand new Federal unfired brass. We're just going to start with 10 cases. These unfired cases right out of the bag are 1.652, very similar to what we want them to be. Will we run these through the die? Yes, for the sake of doing it. There's also a dimension, the overall case length. They have a trim to dimension. The trim to dimension for 308, according to the SAMI specifications, is 2.005. It says that in both books, a Sierra book, a Hornaday book. I probably could pull up some of these other books that would probably tell us the exact same thing. I'm going to measure these. They are at 2.006-ish. I'm not going to get too carried away. They're not fire formed. Fire formed is when you take these bullets, you shoot them in the gun, all that pressure happens, it stretches the brass out. After we do that the first or second time, the bullets will probably need to be trimmed. 2.009. That one is a little long. Let's reset the caliper. That one might need some trimming. What I'm going to do is go through some steps the way that I normally do it. Some of these are longer. We may have to just trim some of these. What I'm going to do first is take a few steps. I'm going to pull out a piece of equipment. I'm going to get ready to size these. We're going to use the dies that are set up for the gun. These ones right here. They have my son's name on them. Well, his initials. So that's what we're going to go with. These ones, this die should already be set up to crunch these bullets, very similar to the length of this chamber, minus 2 thousandths. There's all sorts of different materials you can use for lubricating the dies. What I happen to use is some paper towels, with some synthetic motor oil. It's just enough to saturate this towel. I just give them some rolling. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want them sloppy. I don't want them big globs. What will happen is that oil will cram into the die. It'll put dents in the shoulders. Not very happy for brand new brass. Put it in there. And there we have it. It is now sized. The overall length is still long, but we're going to go ahead and size all these ones. The other thing I don't use the center to push the primers out. I do that by hand with another tool. 2 reasons. 1, I don't have to worry about the primers getting stuck in the press. 2, I don't have primers bouncing around on the floor. That's a lie. Primers will still bounce around on the floor. But I don't have to chase them around so much. So once I get these all sized, we'll move on to the next step, which will be to trim them. Now, the trimming, there's all sorts of materials you can use for that. There's handheld, there's electric, there's ones you can operate in a drill, there's ones you can use on the bench with a motor. I use a hand crank one with a special shell holder. Happens to be this device right here. It's for the 243, 308, 358. This one happens to be made by L.E. Wilson. I'm also going to be using a Sinclair or L.E. Wilson trimmer. We'll come to that in just a minute. Okay, here we have one of the 308 cases. Micrometer back at 0. 2.005 was the SAMI specification. We're at 2.009, so just 4 thousandths over. This shell holder is designed to hold the case put in there, swing the arm over, turn it at the end, and then we're going to check it. At only 4 thousandths, we're really not removing that much. What I'm going to do is adjust this thing. It does have a dial micrometer on it. How accurate that is, I'm yet to determine. There's 4 thousandths. Trim that up. As you can see, it's flattening it out and trimming it. .006. Just a tiny bit more. Whether we can just push it on this handle just a little bit. I see here I have a long ways to go before that's bottomed out. So I really need to move this back a long ways until that handle is bottomed out. And then I'll just work this up to it. I probably took off too much. 2.004. I'll back that off just a touch. Tighten that up. Knock that case out. There again, this case will grow when we shoot it. It will gain a little bit. .006.5. Knock it out of there. Move on to the next one. Last one. All right, trimmed. 10 cases trimmed. The next step I'm going to go to is I'm going to take all these cases. We're going to get rid of the burr around the outside and the inside. There's multiple tools for that also. There's handheld tools, little device where you can go like this and feel the carpal tunnels growing, shut, or whatever it goes. We're going to use electronic. What this does is there's a device, tool if you will, cleans up around the outside edge, gets rid of any of the burrs around the outside, and there's an internal, cleans up the inside. Run it on the brush, help get any extra stuff that's creeping around. The brass is actually pretty soft. It doesn't take much pressure. Last one to go. There, all 10 cases, sized, trimmed, chamfered. What we're going to do is we're going to get the oil off these. This is a household cleaner, degreaser, diluted. We're not putting any powder in these cases tonight, so it's not like the moisture is going to be a factor. We're just trying to clean them off from when we sized them. But with that being said, we also need to go back again and talk about the headspace. What does it do? Well, if the headspace is too big, you get too much pressure because the case moves around. You get not enough pressure, doesn't get the accuracy diminishes because the bullet case doesn't build up the right amount of pressure. How do we know if we got the right headspace? That might be what some of you were asking. I don't know, but I got lots of tricks to try to figure it out. They make a device that you put in through a specific modified case that goes in through the back where the bolt goes. You can measure it, put a bullet in it, try to determine where everything fits. There's all sorts of stuff like that. What we're going to do is take a case, try it just as it is, and then we're going to add 3/1000ths to it and see if the bolt will still close. If a bolt will still close by adding 3/1000ths to it, then our headspace is too big. If the bolt is hard to close, when we're crunching it a little bit, just a little, that's okay. We just don't want it to be hard to close, and we don't want it to just easily close with a 3/1000 spacer in there. Here's our 3/1000 spacer. We're going to take a couple of these cases and add the thickness of a piece of painter's tape on the back end. If this still closes without any extra pressure, then the headspace is too big. Just a simple space to figure that out. Now, to show the whole world we're being safe, bolt is open, no projectile, no bullet. I take the bolt out, but then I got just a cheek rest. Here's the case, no tape in the firearm. Bolt closes without any issue. Drop that one out. Put that back over there. One with the tape. Pull it in. Bolt is really, really tight. And hard to lift back up. I'd say we're really close. In my opinion, that's just where I like it. The headspace is close enough. Well, I can force it close. It's crushing the tape. Have to remember these cases are going to expand with firing, but the tape is showing us that the headspace is, in my opinion, right where it needs to be. All I've got left of these cases to do is the primer them. I don't know if we've ever done priming. Nope, we haven't. We're going to do that a different day. We're going to let these dry in case there was any cleaner that got in them. So that is all for today's video.